this because we are going live on YouTube. You may hear some background noise. I apologize. There's some construction going on where I live. And the good thing about the times we live in is we don't only work at home, we live at work. So some things are out of our control. But luckily, you are going to be hearing from my colleagues for the most part today, so you won't be too annoyed by me. So I'm putting the link in the chat for the YouTube. And we're just so excited to have you here, that you care about citizen science and that you want to learn. So my name is Caroline Nickerson. I'm with the SciStarter team. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And it's my delight to have folks from SciStarter, the Network of the National Library of Medicine, the All of Us Research Program, putting together this event for you. Our featured project today is the Neureka project, and we have special guests with us from Neureka. They're from Ireland, so they're zooming in from another country, which I think is really cool. And it underlies the global nature of citizen science. And the All of Us Research Program, that's something for the States. So I know it was really exciting to work with our partners to put this on and to bring us all a little bit closer together about public engagement and real scientific research. Awesome, awesome. So before we get going, it would be really great if you put your zip codes in the chat. It helps us keep track of the folks that we're reaching. And if there's something you're already excited to learn about today, you can go ahead and share that with us. At a certain point where, it looks like folks are already chiming in the chat. That is fantastic. We also want to know, have you ever participated in a citizen science project before? So let's see. Oh, it looks like for our polls, only one of them went through today. That's okay. Answer us in the chat. Have you ever participated in a citizen science project before? We really want to know. And as you do that, as you tell us in the chat or not, and also please let us know which project you participated in. We'd love to know that as well. As you put that in there, I wanted to let you all know, as you can see, this event has ASL, American Sign Language Interpretation, which is hopefully helpful to folks. And it's also closed captioned. That'll be the case up until we get to the breakout rooms. And as an FYI, this event will only be recorded up until we get to the breakout rooms because we're trying a new format. So we gave you a chance to answer that question if you participated in a scientific research project before, and let's see what your answers are. The majority of you say no. This is really good to know. But some of you have done Globe at Night and Stall Catchers. Awesome, awesome. For those who don't know, Globe at Night is a project where you get to study light pollution. Stall Catchers is a project where you can play an online game to accelerate Alzheimer's research. And it was actually one of the NNLM and SciStarter event series featured projects earlier. So I'll include that in the follow-up email for those of you who haven't done Stall Catchers. You might really enjoy it. And one of you has done Brain Explorer. Very cool. So we got some people curious about the brain here today. Our next question is, have you heard of the All of Us Research Program? Go ahead and answer us in the chat. If you haven't heard about it, absolutely no worries. We're going to tell you all about it today. That's going to be at the start of this event before we really dive into the nitty gritty of our featured project, which is Neureka. A few of you said no. Some of you say yes, that you have heard of the All of Us Research Program before. Very cool. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Some of you say you've heard a bit about it. Great, great, great. Cool, cool, cool. So we'll go to the next slide. And now we want to know a little bit more about you. Are you an aspiring citizen scientist? Are you a parent of an aspiring citizen scientist? Are you a teacher, an educator, a troop leader, etc.? Are you a librarian or part of a library staff? Are you a researcher or a project leader? Are you just a bored person on the internet? Or are you none of these? Oh, wow, we got some, the librarians are really coming out today. I see in the chat pretty much exclusively librarians. We got a teacher. We have someone who's both a librarian and a bored person on the internet. Some people who are none of these. Got some professors. We got a few inspiring citizen scientists. And no matter who you are, you can do real science with citizen science. So hopefully that inspires you. And as we mentioned, we're trying a new format here. So this event will be recorded up until we get to a section where we'll all transfer over to breakout rooms. And that will allow you to work with a facilitator to actually engage in our featured project, the Neureka project. And our facilitators, they're going to walk you through it. They're going to help you make your SciStarter account if you don't have one already, make your Neureka account if you don't have one already. But we want to make sure that it's accessible. So if you need closed captioning, I'm going to give you this poll. If you need closed captioning or American Sign Language interpretation, please let us know. And for some reason, it's just yes or no option. So if you need either of the two, just answer yes. We want to make sure that we're accessible for you. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to vote. If you need closed captioning or ASL interpretation or both, please click yes in the poll. Get those votes in. We'll give you a few more seconds to vote. 3, 2, 1, and we're going to end the poll. And I'll share those results. So it looks like the majority of you don't need ASL or closed captioning, which is good to know, but we will have it. I know quite a few people watch these recordings, so I think they'll very much appreciate the ability to have that. So what is citizen science? You've heard me say this term a few times throughout the presentation so far. Citizen science is a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are curious, concerned, and motivated to make a difference. Basically, it's any way that you can move science forward. It's either through collecting data or analyzing data. And most often, citizen scientists are volunteers. So you could have any job in the world, right? You could be a beautician. You could be an accountant. You could be an entertainer. And you can also be a citizen scientist in your spare time, just because you want to know more about the world and you want to be a meaningful part of the scientific process. Citizen science is as broad as science itself. It's everything from astronomy to health to zoology and everything in between. And because of our partners at the network of the National Library of Medicine, we're so lucky that we're able to bring you featured citizen science projects like Neureka. We're connecting you to the real science you can do, and our main goal is to make you catch the citizen science bug and start participating in different projects. That's why we've made this microsite for you. I put it in the chat, and for those of you watching on YouTube, you have it there as well. If you haven't made your SciStarter account yet, I urge you to go to scistarter.org/NLM to go ahead and make your account. It's available on the left sidebar there, and you can also make it on the Neureka featured project page. I really urge you to make your account before we go into breakout rooms, because it'll just make everything go a little bit faster. And remember, use the email address you use the most often to make your account, because that's how we do tracking at SciStarter. We give you credit for your contributions. We have partners like Neureka who have made it so if you use the same email address to make your SciStarter account and to make your Neureka account, you'll be able to track your participation in your SciStarter dashboard. And that's just participation statistics. We won't see, what answers you had to different challenges. We just see you contributed this many times on this particular day. And it's helpful for you too. At the end of the year, you could look back and say, wow, I accomplished a lot of research. Or if you need volunteer hours for whatever reason, even if that reason is just bragging rights, you'll have all of that in your SciStarter dashboard. So go to scistarter.org/NLM to discover featured citizen science projects that SciStarter and NLM have selected for you. You can also learn more about the All of Us research program on that page and discover a whole world of citizen science. We know it can be a little overwhelming because, thousands of folks have added projects, events, and tools to the SciStarter website, especially for Citizen Science Month. It's going to be an April to remember for sure. And we make it a little bit smaller and a little bit more focused on this NLM page so it doesn't overwhelm you. Also on this page is an introduction to citizen science tutorial. It gives you the what, the how, the who, and the why of citizen science, and it's available in both English and Spanish. This tutorial was created for you by SciStarter, in partnership with NNLM and instructional designers from Arizona State University. It's accessible, so it's written at a 5th grade level. It should be, adults and students should like it equally, hopefully. And it's good for people who are really experienced in citizen science and folks who might be newer to it. You can click through it. It's supposed to be fun. There are videos. There is a certificate at the end. We have some quiz questions. It's interactive. And I know a lot of you mentioned we have a ton of librarians in the room and library staff members. You could just give this tutorial to your patrons and have them run with it, or you could do it as an individual, as a citizen scientist yourself. So now I'm going to pass the mic to my friends at NNLM, who are going to briefly tell you about the All of Us research program before we dive into our featured project today, which is Neureka.
Thanks, Carolyn. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yep, we can hear you.
Excellent. So my name's Amy. I am one of the NNLM staffers out of the Pacific Southwest region, which is based at UCLA. So NNLM stands for the Network of the National Library of Medicine, and we're one of the organizations sponsoring this program today. We are a program that's funded through the National Library of Medicine, which is part of the National Institutes of Health. And we are also funding this through part of the All of Us research program. So I'm going to share a little bit more about the All of Us research program, which is a large research program nationwide that's being sponsored by the National Institutes of Health. It is seeking 1 million or more people from across the United States to help speed up medical research. So the people who join share about their health information, habits, and what it's like where they live, so they can see how environment as well as lifestyle affects health. By looking for patterns, the researchers are then able to see what specific things might be affecting people's health. The National Library of Medicine and All of Us have prioritized citizen science as a focus area for engagement activities with and through libraries and with other community-based organizations as well. So I know we have a lot of librarians, but all community-based organizations that are interested in citizen science are always welcome. And our goals are to improve health literacy, digital literacy, and participation in scientific research. So the All of Us study is a study all about precision medicine. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with the concept of precision medicine, but it's one way that researchers are looking to advance the ability to serve the public health needs of all people. And it's a new way to look at health treatment and prevention. So it's designed for the individual rather than just broad brushstroke treatments and prevention. So this way, doctors can take into account a person's lifestyle, environment, and biological makeup, including their genes, to figure out what the best treatment is for that particular individual. And we do already have some precision medicine in life now that you're probably not even aware that you are familiar with. Obviously, prescription eyeglasses are a particular one that I bet a lot of us use. So that individualized prescription for your particular set of eyes so that you as an individual can see the best. Some other ones are insulin pumps, which respond directly to an individual's blood sugar, blood transfusions, which obviously are tailored to everyone's blood type, and hearing aids, which again are personalizable to be exactly what that person needs to support their hearing. So we would encourage you, if you are interested in citizen science, to volunteer to participate in the All of Us program. I will say I personally am an All of Us participant, and I think it's been a great experience. So if you're interested in learning more about how to join All of Us, you can go to joinallofus.org/NLM to get more of that information. And then before I pass you back to Carolyn, we do have one other opportunity coming up that's actually currently open. It's our Test the Waters Family Exploration Kit, which is a citizen science kit that was created specifically with libraries in mind, that can be circulated to patrons or used for in-house programming when it is safe to do in-house programming again. And if you're interested in learning more about that, the applications are currently open to receive the kit. And the link there that says on the slide, click the link, doesn't actually work when we're in Zoom. So I will drop the links in the chat if you are interested in learning more about this program. But it's a great kit that has a few different experiments and activities that your patrons can get involved with at home and around their community. So definitely check that out if it is of interest. And with that, I will toss it back to Caroline.
Yeah, and I'll also include that in the follow-up notes. So if you don't feel pressured to grab the link from the chat right now, because oops, that's a little early. So I'm gonna exit my slide share now because I'm passing the mic to Sean from the Neureka project. But yeah, so everything I am big on follow-up emails. So we want you to keep engaging after this. So not to worry, everything we mention will also be included in the follow-up email. But now it's my delight to pass the mic to Sean from the Neureka project. He's going to talk about what it's all about, how you can participate, why you should participate. And I think he's also going to provide a little bit of a demo for you and before we go into breakout rooms. So Sean, over to you.
Great, thanks, Caroline. Just going to share my screen now. Great, can you all see that?
Yeah, it looks great.
Great. So thanks very much for inviting me to this event. So my name is Sean Kelly. I'm a PhD student at Trinity College Dublin. And today I'm going to be talking to you about Neureka, which is a smartphone app for studying brain health and mental health, developed by the Gillam Lab and in partnership with the Global Brain Health Institute. So as I'm sure many of you are aware, brain health is very complex. And there have been a variety of risk factors for Alzheimer's disease that have been identified. However, most of these contributions only make a small, most of these risk factors only make a small contribution to risk. They interact with each other and they can be confounded by each other. Sorry, can everyone hear me? Said that chat's having a bit difficulty.
I think we have a little bit of feedback, but we can still hear you. So charge on. I think you're good.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so basically these factors, they interact with each other and they can be confounded by one another. And we also know, interestingly, that genes account really only for about 1% of Alzheimer's cases. It's very rare to actually have Alzheimer's be caused by genes. And in most of those cases, it's typically have a strong family history of Alzheimer's, and you show basically Alzheimer's when you're around 40 to 50 years old. And because of all of this, we struggle to make sort of personalized predictions for individuals. And what we need then is big data.
I think we lost you there.
Sorry, and the screen is just, there we go. So, we already do know quite a bit already about the causes for dementia. So about a third of dementia cases can be prevented via 9 different risk factors. So just kind of 3 different examples. So we know that people who receive education up to about the secondary level have an 8% lower risk of developing dementia. Hearing loss is actually the largest preventable risk factor for dementia. So by encouraging the use of hearing aids, you can reduce the risk of dementia by about 9%, as well as smoking. So stopping smoking can contribute around 4% of risk to dementia. So just changing these 3 risk factors can reduce just half of this 1/3 of preventable risk for dementia. And then interestingly as well, like these risk factors, they don't all occur at the same time within a person's life. So for example, education is most effective when done early in life. Hearing loss is most effective when treated later in midlife, and then smoking is most effective when stopped in late life. So there are a variety of different actions you can take as individuals throughout your lifespan that can reduce your dementia risk. So then the question then we need to ask ourselves is, how do we kind of get the message out about brain health and getting people to better understand these different preventable risk factors? And what we need then are these large-scale public health initiatives, kind of like what SciStarter is. So what we decided at Neureka was that we can kind of achieve these goals synergistically with each other. We can gamify research participants and what we call deeply phenotyped citizen scientists. And what that just means is that we are able to collect a massive amount of data on individual people, and that helps develop these individual predictions. And then using the infrastructure that we developed through Neureka by having a publicly available app, we're able to give these unique insights back to users so they can better understand their own brain and mental health. So Neureka and how it works is quite simple, really. You just have to download the app from the Google or Apple Play stores. You play the different games we have, and then you learn about your brain health. And so far, since we've launched in June 2020, Neureka has reached over 7,000 users in 94 different countries. The average age of our user is around 40 years old, but we have users who are just turning adults, so 18 years old, all the way up to people who are 99 years old. And interestingly as well, we have people who are in midlife, between 40 and 59 years old. And these are kind of a key area for assessing risk for dementia. And about 62% of our participants are female. And we have a wide variety of people with different educational backgrounds. Around 43% of people don't have a college degree. So we're not just reaching people at sort of the university and postgraduate level, as well as because we're interested in predicting dementia risk, over 300 people have reported a family history of dementia. So these are some of the different games that we have in Neureka. So we have kind of 3 games that kind of form the core of it's called our Risk Factors Challenge. So the first is Star Racer, which measures mental flexibility. The second one is Cannon Blast, which measures decision making. And the last one is Memory Match, which just tests your memory. And we also have a variety of different self-report measures. So we measure things like demographic information about users, like their age and gender, a variety of things about their mental health, like depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, physical health, like your height and weight, different lifestyle factors, like how much exercise you're getting, your attitudes towards dementia, your attitudes toward aging in general, as well as your overall awareness of these different types of mental health issues. So I'm just going to kind of go into a little bit more detail about 2 games in particular, one of which is Star Racer. So as you can see on the left, this is the game we have in Neureka, which is fun and interactive, and people are able to press different stars. And this contrasts highly with what's called the trail making task. And this is typically what researchers would use to sort of measure this cognitive ability in the clinic, where you're actually having this in a pencil and paper version and going between the different circles. And the concept here is fairly simple. So there are 2 versions to this game. One is version A, which is where you tap the stars in ascending numerical order. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically people are able to do this quite well. It doesn't take them very long to do it. But then we switch over to a second version, which involves both letters and numbers. And people are required then to switch between the stars in ascending numerical and alphabetical order. So say 1A, 2B, and 3C. And basically what we find then is that people on this version B task take a lot longer than they would on the version A task. And then we can use the time they take on this secondary task to measure their cognitive flexibility. And this is a very involved graphic, but I just want to give you an idea of some of the types of data we can assess using Neureka. So this is very new data. So you're among the first people to see this data. But basically what we can see is that people who take longer on the Star Racer B, who aren't as mentally flexible, that tends to be associated with their depression, tends to be associated with hearing loss, as well as some different physical risk factors like how much they smoke, as well as if they have any memory problems. And people, say, with higher education or a higher socioeconomic status tend to do better at this task, indicating that they have sort of greater cognitive flexibility. And then another game that we have is a Memory Match. So in Memory Match, one of the objectives is basically to memorize the shape and colors of different items. So here, for example, you just have to remember the shape of two objects. Here, you just need to remember the color of the objects. And here you have to remember both the shape and color of those objects. And why we're interested in that task in particular is that if you look at people who are carriers for basically familial Alzheimer's disease or who are at higher risk for dementia, they do basically as well as healthy people when they only have to memorize either shape or color. But when they're required to memorize both the shape and color of different objects, they do much worse, which means we can use this task as a prediction for individual dementia risk. And what we've been able to show so far from our research is that how well you're able to remember both the shape and color of different objects is widely associated with different aspects of mental health. So people, for example, with depression and anxiety tend to do much worse on this task than people with lower levels of depression and anxiety. So not only are we able to pick up on specific cognitive deficits, but we're able to associate these deficits with different aspects of mental health. And along with the different games that we have in risk factors, we are also very interested in giving back to people. So one of the aspects of this is informing people about the different risk factors for dementia, helping them develop a knowledge of Alzheimer's disease, improving their scientific literacy, as well as tracking and monitoring brain health behaviors. I'm just going to run through a few examples of this. So one of these tasks is called Maintain Your Brain. So like I mentioned earlier about the different risk factors for dementia, here we can go through a short quiz that'll tell you about the 9 different risk factors for dementia, which overall contribute to a 33% potential reduction in your individual dementia risk. And you can learn about what these risk factors are, as well as the actual amount that they can reduce your dementia risk by. Another task that we have is called Remember This, which we launched fairly recently. And it involves 30 true or false questions about Alzheimer's disease. So you can learn about the causes of Alzheimer's disease, what people with Alzheimer's disease are like, how they respond and react to the world, as well as whether there are any effective treatments for Alzheimer's disease. And because we're interested in measuring how much you've learned from our sort of citizen science engagement task, we have another quiz about Remember This in 2 weeks, just to kind of measure the amount that you've learned. The last section here is called Read All About It. So these are 3 different sections designed to improve scientific literacy. So one of the sections is about sample size. So basically in a lot of studies, you want to know how many people are involved in that research. And that's important because it's kind of a measure of how generalizable those results are. So often in the media, you'll see sensational headlines about some new drug that supposedly can cure cancer. But you'll find is that the research was only done in maybe 10 to 20 people, and that's not very reliable, and you shouldn't put too much credence in that study. Another aspect that we have is statistics. So oftentimes as well in the media, you'll see relative risks reported. So but that can mean, for an example, say eating red meat can cause 400% increase in your likelihood for developing cancer. But what they don't neglect to mention is that the overall sort of absolute risk level is still very low. So even though there's this large, very impressive relative increase in risk, the absolute risk is still quite small. And then finally, species is also very important when looking at scientific research. So for example, a lot of biomedical studies are done in animals for ethical reasons and being able to try out new and novel treatments. But what that means is that often results don't translate between animals and humans. So you'll see a fantastic new study about a cure for Alzheimer's disease, but it was done in mice or fruit flies, and we don't actually know whether it would work in people. And along with these different citizen science engagements, we have some different mental health tracking features. One of these is called Multi-Mood, where you can measure changes in your mood over a 2-month period by rating your mood twice a day. And why we're interested in this is we're very interested in why some people become depressed and not others. So 2 people can experience stressful life events, or one person goes on to develop depression and one person doesn't. And that can be because of the way different mood items relate to each other. And by tracking mood systematically over a 2-month period, we can better understand why this is occurring. And we're also interested, as part of this, is identifying early warning signs for depression. So we're hoping that we can use this feature to identify when people will become depressed about a month before they actually become depressed, with the aim of being able to target interventions to people earlier and hopefully prevent the onset of depressive episodes. So just some next steps for where Neureka is headed in the future. So we're looking to develop our technology to understand and predict dementia using machine learning algorithms. We want to see whether we can use the biomarkers that we identified in Neureka to predict changes in dementia symptoms. And we're also actively adding new challenges to Neureka. So for example, we have Compulsive Me, which is a feature that will come out within the next few months about tracking compulsive behavior, as well as in the next few years adding games related to metacognition and habit making. We're actively seeking to expand our user base, as well as engage other researchers within the broader academic community so that they can use Neureka for their own studies and gain a better insight into their participants. So just briefly show you what Compulsive Me is, which is a new feature that should be available within the next few months. So we know that everyone is affected by compulsive thoughts. And in Compulsive Me, you'll be able to choose the compulsive feature that you want to monitor. So say you want to monitor your social media use, how often you drink, how often you check locks, anything really. And you'll be able to see graphs of changes in compulsivity over time and hopefully be able to better understand what's causing changes in compulsivity. So thank you very much for listening. I'll be happy to take any questions now and help you guide through the risk factors challenge in the breakout rooms.
Yes, and thank you so much for that, Sean. That was great. This project fascinates me so much. I'm going to ask you 1 or 2 questions before we jump to breakouts. And for folks watching, if you're watching on YouTube, I know we have a few folks watching live on YouTube, you can drop your questions in the comments. Folks watching on Zoom, feel free to put your questions in the chat or use the Q&A function. We're only going to ask 1 or 2, and then we'll just jump right into breakout rooms with our trained facilitators. So my first question is, I know the number one thing folks ask me about Neureka is about privacy. And you mentioned that Neureka may be able to be used one day to pioneer treatments to help predict depression before it happens. For the project itself, how do you protect folks' privacy?
So we have quite, stringent privacy compliance. So we're GDPR compliant. We only use anonymized emails to basically assess different people's registration. We don't have access to, any way of basically, your personal data other than what you're providing with us. And these are, kept on secure servers that, only we can access.
That's really good to know. I see a question in the chat. Lucy, who's watching, asked, how much volunteer time is needed to be useful to the study?
So there's quite a range of things that can be done. So say risk factors only takes about an hour to do. So that's kind of a key component of Neureka. So just 1 hour of that is very helpful. Say multi-mood, for example, will take you maybe another couple of hours, but it's spread over a 2-month period. And some of the other challenges, like there's an About Me section where you answer different self-report questions related to mental health, can be done in about 30 to 40 minutes. So overall involvement with the app, within 3 to 4 hours, you could basically do everything in the app.
That's phenomenal. And my last question before we jump into breakout rooms, what's something about Neureka that you wish everyone knew?
I think one of the key unique things about Neureka is just the amount of different types of data we're able to get on people. So often studies in research are highly limited by the fact that they're only measuring a couple aspects of cognition, a couple aspects of mental health. While here at Neureka, what we're doing is measuring a broad variety of both mental health, physical health, and different cognitive abilities. And combining this data together is what really makes Neureka unique and adds to our ability to hopefully predict dementia.
That is phenomenal. All right. Well, I'm going to steal the screen from you because we are going into breakout rooms. This is a new thing we're trying. So everyone don't be shy about giving us feedback on it because we really want to make sure this is a good experience for you. We're going to set our two interpreters free and our closed captioner free because we are going to breakouts. Basically, the way this is going to work, I'll put the link in the chat right now. We're going to have you click this link. It takes you over into a Zoom meeting. So you're going to be in a waiting room for a few seconds, as much as 30 seconds, as I wait for everybody to jump over from this Zoom to the other one. So it's bit.ly/Neureka breakout Zoom. So bit.ly Neureka breakout Zoom. Email in the chat just in case you have any issues switching over or I'm too quick on the draw for you. You all should have my email from the registration. I did ping you all this morning, but my email's right there as well. So if you miss clicking the link, then I'll be able to email it right to you and you'll be able to join us just 1 or 2 minutes after everybody else. But our big call to action here is click that link, Neureka breakout Zoom. It's in the chat and it's also up on the screen. You can go ahead and click it right now. I'm going to leave this up for a few more moments to give everybody a chance to click over. So see you on the other side. And thank you so much to our interpreters. I'm still seeing some people in the room. Go ahead and click that link in the chat. Neureka breakout Zoom. And you're going to be in a waiting room for a few seconds as we wait for everybody to click over. All right, everybody click the link. I should see you over there. I want to get our numbers down to 0. Everybody please click the link. Yeah, you're going to be in the waiting room. I have to leave the waiting. I want to give everybody a chance to click over. So I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds to click over. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Click that link, everybody. If you're having any issues clicking that link, please let me know in the chat. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.